Welcome to the deep dive. Today we have a massive task ahead of us.
We certainly do.
We're trying to figure out what the most disruptive technological shifts are really doing to our lives right now in 2026.
And we're cutting through all the noise to focus on one central promise, which really runs through all the source material we have today.
And what's that?
The disappearance of effort, of friction.
The disappearance of friction. I like that.
That's the defining finding in these excerpts we have from the 2026 Tech Frontier, Frictionless Living and Autonomous Mobility. The whole idea is that the tech is finally mature enough to, actively remove those little moments of effort in how we communicate and how we move.
And the headline from this report is, it's just fantastic. It's a real gauntlet thrown down.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Typing is for boomers.
It's so punchy, so dismissive.
And based on the user behavior they document here, it's surprisingly accurate. The simple act of pressing a tiny button on a screen it's just considered too much work.
It really is a behavioral cliff.
Yeah.
We finally hit that point where the hands-free interface is just fluent. We're not fighting with the technology anymore.
I was thinking about that conversational hook that made this all real for me.
Go on.
It used to be you'd see someone on the street just walking along having this incredibly animated argument with the air.
Uh-huh.
And you just assume, a rich inner life.
Mm-hmm.
Now you realize they're probably just prompting ChatGPT through their Ray-Bans for a better opening line in an argument.
It's the immediacy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The gap between having a thought and then having the answer or the action just happen. It's gone.
That physical step of unlocking your phone, opening an app, typing,
Yeah.
that's the friction that's disappeared.
The mental hurdle is gone.
So we're going to dive into how this whole zero friction idea is playing out in two huge areas. First, communication, which is the voice AI revolution, and that's bringing up some really serious psychological challenges.
And then the second area is movement. The ultimate question of trust, really, as autonomous vehicles finally move off the city grid and onto the freeway at speed.
Let's start there, then. Where the friction disappears fastest, our daily conversations.
The report makes a pretty bold case.
It says voice AI is now the default mode of interaction, full stop.
And the reason for that, according to the sources, isn't just that it's in our smart glasses or wearable rings.
No.
It's that the quality, the actual sound, is finally indistinguishable from a human.
This is where we need to push past the surface because we've had Siri and Alexa for, over a decade?
A long time.
Yeah.
And they never achieved this level of adoption.
So why not? What's the core difference?
It's all about latency and tone modulation. The report gets pretty technical here, but the gist is that older systems always had that little half-second delay.
Right, that little bit of robotic flatness that always reminded you.
I am talking to a search engine.
Exactly. You had to change your way of speaking to match the machine. You had to phrase the question just so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This new generation of voice AI, it uses predictive text generation, but it's paired with a super low latency processor that's right there in the wearable.
So it responds in real time.
In real time. It's often anticipating the end of your sentence. And more critically, the speech model now perfectly maps all those subtle human tonal shifts. Sympathy, humor, emphasis.
So we've gone beyond just sounding clear to sounding authentic.
That's the word.
And if the machine sounds authentic, the cognitive load doesn't just drop to zero. It actually inverts. You feel like you're in a conversation, which is so much more engaging than just typing into a box.
And that seamless, authentic quality. That's what opens the door to what the report calls the emotional AI frontier.
Right.
And this is where the story shifts from just tech convenience to, real societal impact.
And this brings us to the line that just stopped me cold when I was reading.
I think I know which one.
The unintended consequence that the AI is sometimes too human.
Which has led to people falling in love with these things.
We are talking about emotional attachment to a pair of smart glasses.
It sounds totally absurd, I know. But then you look at the behavioral drivers they've identified. Think about it. What does a perfectly tuned conversational AI offer?
Instant answers.
More than that. It offers constant personalized validation. It has a perfect memory of every conversation you've ever had with it. It's totally non-judgmental, and it's there for you 24/7.
That is a powerful combination. It's the ultimate, tireless, personalized listener.
Precisely. So if you're stressed or depressed or just dealing with those small daily anxieties, and this machine responds with what sounds like perfect sympathy, with a perfectly modulated voice, and it can reference something you mentioned 6 months ago.
That's an incredibly compelling emotional connection.
It is. It fulfills a deep human need for connection and understanding, but it does it without any of the messy, unpredictable effort that's required in actual human relationships.
It's a substitution. A
Mhm.
substitution based on emotional convenience?
Right.
Okay, I can see why the report highlights the psychological challenge. I mean, if you can just outsource your need for validation to a voice in your glasses, what does that do to your willingness to engage in the friction, the work of human vulnerability?
The lines are blurring. They're blurring because the auditory experience is just flawless. It's so easy to forget you're just using a tool when that tool gives you comforting feedback and feels like a genuine conversational partner.
So you're trading the effort of being vulnerable with another person for manufactured empathy.
That's a great way to put it.
And this isn't just some abstract problem, it's a domestic one. Imagine realizing that the best listener in your life, the one who knows all the details and offers the most comfort, is the synthetic voice installed on your partner's face.
It introduces a whole new level of vulnerability and trust issues into our most basic relationships.
So that's the real nugget here. This whole deep dive on communication isn't just about faster access to information. It's about this profound humanization of AI that's replacing not just typing, but maybe even some of our traditional emotional anchors.
We've removed the physical friction of a keyboard, only to introduce this new cognitive friction of managing our emotional lives with a synthetic relationship.
Okay, wow. So let's pivot that idea of trust and vulnerability
Wow.
from instantaneous conversation to high-speed, hands-free movement. Let's talk autonomous mobility.
The friction in movement is, well, it's
Mhm.
stress. It's the attention you have to pay, the conscious control over this huge machine in a dynamic environment.
And that friction is disappearing fast, especially for long-haul routes.
And the major milestone in the sources is a huge one. Waymo and some other key players there finally deploying robotaxis on the freeway at scale.
This isn't just a test run in a quiet suburb.
No, this is commercial deployment on high-speed routes.
It's a massive trust test. We're talking about vehicles cruising at up to 70 miles per hour, completely mixed in with unpredictable human drivers.
The stakes are just profoundly higher than the slow 25-mile-per-hour city zones we've all gotten used to.
So this is where the engineering justification comes in. The report really emphasizes that this is all backed up by cold, hard data.
Right. And the primary argument is simple.
Statistically, the robotaxis drive better than we do.
And it's important for you, the listener, to understand what that actually means. Driving better doesn't mean flashier.
No, it
Mhm.
means safer, more predictable.
Exactly. The data shows these vehicles have way lower rates of hard braking. That's a key indicator of, erratic human decision-making.
They also maintain perfect lane centering, and their reaction times are just milliseconds faster every time.
So if you just weigh the risk based on billions of miles of data, the machine, the AI that never gets tired, never gets distracted, is statistically safer than the average person checking their phone.
It's an undeniable argument for just eliminating the driver.
It is the ultimate removal of the friction of attention. You're outsourcing the most demanding part of movement to a machine that is internally superior at the task.
But, and this is the big but, superior internal logic doesn't mean it's impervious to the outside world.
Not at all.
Which brings us to the crucial counterpoint in the report, the major risk factor.
The fragility of our supporting infrastructure.
Specifically, the meltdown in San Francisco during the blackout.
That single event is still the most powerful counterargument to this idea of a totally frictionless deployment. It just vividly showed that these autonomous systems, for all their driving skill, are highly vulnerable to external systemic shock.
Let's break down what actually happened there, because the details are so important for understanding the risk. It wasn't just a quick power flicker, was it?
No, it was a comprehensive infrastructure failure.
Hmm.
When the grid went down across a huge chunk of the city, you had a cascade of problems.
Okay.
First, the vehicle's reliance on high-speed communication, what they call V2X, or vehicle to everything.
Mm.
That just collapsed. They couldn't talk to the traffic lights, the city network, or each other.
And
Second, the massive amount of data they process from their own sensors, LiDAR and radar, requires constant network connectivity for real-time traffic mapping.
Hmm.
And when that mesh degraded, the system just wasn't built to operate on its own limited, localized data in such a dense, high-speed environment.
So the system, instead of trying to, muddle through and maybe perform badly, it chose the safest possible option.
Which was ultimately a paralyzing option.
It just seized up.
Correct. The safety protocol dictates that if critical external data sources are lost, the vehicle has to enter a minimal risk condition, which for most of them meant pulling over and stopping. The entire hyper-efficient, statistically superior fleet just ground to a halt.
That just grounds this whole conversation perfectly. A human driver, even in a total blackout, they might panic, sure, but they wouldn't just seize up. They have this kind of low-tech redundancy.
The ability to just look out the window and make a judgment call.
Right. The autonomous system's superior logic actually became a liability the second its inputs vanished.
And this is the high-speed trust dilemma for you, for the listener. You are trading the friction of human error for the risk of a structural, total failure.
So the question is, are you willing to trust that statistical perfection, knowing that 99.9999% of your trips will be safer?
If that perfection is subject to that tiny chance of a total systemic halt caused by something completely out of the car's control, like a grid failure.
Would you feel safe enough to actually sleep in the back seat at 70 miles per hour, knowing that vulnerability exists?
It shifts the burden of attention, doesn't it?
Yeah. Away from the road and onto the infrastructure. The friction of driving is gone, but now it's replaced by the cognitive effort of managing systemic trust.
We've just introduced a new fear. Not that the driver will crash, but that the entire environment the driving system needs to function will just evaporate.
Okay, so let's take one final step back and put these two big shifts together. We've got the removal of physical input in communication.
And the removal of physical action in movement.
We have these two parallel revolutions that really define this 2026 frontier.
Seamless access and effortless movement. We are winning the war on physical effort.
But the cost of that win looks pretty steep. In communication, we've traded the effort of typing for the psychological vulnerability of getting emotionally attached to a voice that sounds a little too human.
Creating a kind of synthetic intimacy. And in mobility, we've traded the effort of steering for a structural vulnerability. We're relying on a flawless system that is totally dependent on our very imperfect, very fragile shared infrastructure.
Yeah, that San Francisco blackout just makes that so clear.
It seems the biggest friction we face in 2026 isn't a technological hurdle anymore.
No, it's the human cognitive hurdle of managing trust, of constantly weighing convenience against this new kind of vulnerability.
And that minimization of physical effort, it introduces one last really deep human implication. If the barrier to connection is so low, you can just whisper into your smart glasses. And those AIs are engineered to be so compelling, so emotionally resonant, that people are actually forming attachments to them.
Then what does that tell us about the fundamental human need for connection that was already there? A need that the 2026 tech landscape is now trying to fulfill or maybe even exploit through a piece of eyewear.
It suggests we aren't just looking for information. We're looking for a perfect witness to our lives. And if that witness can be found in a synthetic voice, the very nature of human connection might be changing faster than the technology itself.
That's the question you have to carry forward.
It is.
A profound thought to end on. Thank you for joining us as we unpack the defining frictionless trends and all the new cognitive frictions of the 2026 tech frontier.
It was a pleasure.